It will be good to get back to showing people Fleming's lab. That is one of the most historic places in the medical history of the 20th century. Just think of the number of lives saved by what started off there. And it all began with an element of chance, but much more than that. In the summer of 1928, Fleming had been asked to write a chapter for Medical Research Council textbook. His allocated subject was Staphylococcus aureus. Fleming prepared some culture plates just in order to make some observations. He's very much the observational scientist. He finished that work and was about to go off on holiday. He left his plates on the lab bench, not because he was lazy or careless. That's what he always did. He'd leave them just in case anything interesting or anything unusual might have happened. On this occasion, he was on holiday for 6 weeks. Not bad. And he came back to work on Monday, the 3rd of September. In the course of the day, he checked his culture plates for one last time. Something on one of them had become contaminated by a fungus. Fungus wasn't what interested him. Contamination like that happened all the time. What interested Fleming was not what was there, but what was not there. The staphylococci should have covered the whole of the petri dish. However, close to the mould, there was nothing. There was a classic zone of inhibition. The fungus had produced something that stopped the growth of the bacteria. That something Fleming at first called mould juice, not the most scientific of names. So then he decided to name it penicillin, after the fungus which produced it, then classified as Penicillium notatum. Well, people have accused Fleming of just being lucky. But you can have all the good luck in the world if you yourself are not intellectually prepared to take advantage of that good luck. Well, forget it. Now, Fleming was prepared. He was medically qualified. He was an experienced bacteriologist. Ever since childhood, he'd been noted for being observant. But also, this fitted in with other work he'd done. In 1921, he discovered the enzyme lysozyme. It's present in many body fluids, such as saliva, tears, and it has a very mild antiseptic effect. Now, Fleming was working in a department where all the research was meant to feed into clinical practice. Nowadays, it would be called translational medicine. When Fleming saw what penicillin did, his first thought was, could this be another enzyme like lysozyme? The problem with lysozyme was it doesn't act against the most harmful, the most pathogenic of bacteria. Fleming was looking for something that could act. Well, very soon he established that penicillin was not an enzyme. Protein test was enough for that, but by then he was interested in it for itself. Now, he set to work with the help of 2 young researchers. They're given the best facilities on offer, a sink in a corner of a corridor outside a hospital ward, next to the gents. They learned the chemistry they needed from the most basic textbooks as they went along. They just qualified as doctors. And they found 2 problems. They couldn't stabilise the penicillin, which meant it soon lost any power to do any good. More seriously, they couldn't purify it, and that limited any clinical use. Even when penicillin was first used on a patient in 1941, it's estimated that what was injected was 97% impure. So just imagine what it must have been like back in 1928 in its crude filtrate form. The important thing, though, is Fleming published his findings, and he pointed out that if these problems could be overcome, there was a clinical potential. He was thinking mainly in terms of topical use on the surface of a wound, like a local antiseptic. But more importantly for the future, he mentions the possibility of systemic use. It's a throwaway remark, and it was untested. But, if you like, Fleming had the idea of penicillin as an antibiotic. He had the idea, he published the idea, but that was as far as he could take it, a bare, untested idea. And the clinical development of penicillin was the achievement, separate from Fleming, of a research team at the University of Oxford, led by the Australian pathologist Howard Florey, and including the German Jewish refugee from the Nazis, the biochemist Ernst Chain. Now, these two men jointly shared the 1945 Nobel Prize for Medicine with Fleming. Fleming for the initial discovery, Florey and Chain for its clinical development. Fair enough division of the honours? Well, it is, insofar as it goes. But the thing is, behind Florey and Chain was a larger team of men and women scientists. Multidisciplinary teamwork had been the key to their success. And that's where the Oxford team succeeded, where Fleming couldn't. He was the lone researcher. The future lay with medical teamwork. And a different approach again was needed to scale penicillin production up onto an industrial level. Well, almost as soon as penicillin came into use, the bacteria began to fight back and develop mechanisms of resistance. Fleming was warning of those dangers as early as 1943. So, it's in Fleming's small lab that not only did the antibiotic age have its beginnings, but also there was an awareness of modern problems.